So yesterday I suggested that if we were to distill the essence of all the world's great religious and spiritual traditions into a single sentence, it might sound something like this. Peace and happiness are the nature of our being, and we share our being with everyone and everything. So yesterday we explored the first part of this statement, namely that peace and happiness are the very nature of our being. And today I'd like to explore the second aspect of this statement, namely we share our being with all people, all animals, and all things. In other words, behind the apparent multiplicity and diversity of people, animals, and things, there lies a single, infinite, and indivisible whole or reality, which ultimately cannot be named, but we might refer to it as spirit or consciousness or love. That is, there is a single being or reality from which everyone and everything derives its apparently independent existence. In other words, multiplicity and diversity, otherness, separateness, only really exists or seems to exist at the level of appearances. When reality is refracted through our sense perceptions, it appears to us as many. But behind that appearance, and expressing itself as that appearance, there is a single, infinite, indivisible whole. And we are that. Everything is that. Now, of course, I realize that at a yoga festival such as this, I know that you are all very well aware of this. It is this intuition of oneness that impels us to engage on some spiritual practice, such as a practice of yoga. So I know that I don't need to explain very much about this. But it's one thing to understand that there is a single, infinite and indivisible whole whose nature is consciousness or spirit or love. It's another thing to feel it, and in particular to feel the body and perceive the world in a way that is consistent with this understanding. Are you hearing me okay at the back? Can you hear? No? Some say yes, some say no. Well, let's keep going. I can't really compete with the music, but I hope you can hear. So, I recommend, at least to begin with, we keep our eyes closed and understand, but more importantly, feel yourself as the vast, open, empty space of awareness within which your entire experience arises. It is obvious, even from a conventional point of view, that our thoughts and feelings arise in this open, empty, resistanceless space of awareness. But what is not so immediately obvious is that our experience of the body and our experience of the world also appear in awareness. So understand, but more importantly feel that the awareness that you essentially are extends way beyond the limits of your body and encompasses the entirety of your experience. Ask yourself the question, can I find an edge or a border to the field of awareness within which my experience appears? I'm sure that some of you as children lay awake in bed wondering how far physical space went on, trying with your imagination to see if you could find the edge of physical space and wondering what might lie beyond it. So do the same now, but not wondering how far physical space goes on, but consider the space of awareness in which your experience arises. Even our experience of space arises in awareness. Can you find an edge or a border or a limit to the field of awareness within which all experience appears, not just your thoughts and feelings, but the sensations that constitute your experience of the body and your perceptions that constitute your experience of the world. sights, if your eyes are open, sounds, tastes, textures, smells. All of these appear in awareness. Can I find a limit to the field of awareness within which all experience arises? Notice that however far you travel in the realms of experience, whatever you encounter appears in awareness. And notice that just as physical space offers no resistance to anything that takes place within it, so the knowing space of awareness does not resist any experience, whatever its content might be. This absence of resistance is therefore not something that we need to practice with our mind. It does not require any effort or discipline. It is the very nature of our self-awareness. Thoughts and feelings of resistance may arise, but they arise in the resistanceless space of awareness. And being inherently free of resistance, awareness knows nothing of suffering. For all suffering is resistance. Thus its nature is said to be peace or joy. understand, but more importantly, feel yourself as this openness without resistance to all experience. Just as it is on account of the emptiness of physical space that there is room for objects within it, so likewise it is on account of the emptiness of awareness that there is room for experience within it. Awareness is not an inert emptiness, it is a knowing emptiness, an aware emptiness, a luminous emptiness. Understand and feel yourself as this luminous emptiness. Which both illuminates experience or knows experience and also contains all experience. Ask yourself the question, have I ever experienced, or could I ever experience, anything that takes place outside awareness? Try now to find any experience or even imagine any experience that could take place outside awareness. Has anybody, or could anybody ever encounter anything outside the field of awareness? Our world culture is founded on the idea that there exists something outside of awareness, namely matter. Out of which the universe is made, and from which awareness is derived. This substance, matter, scientists have been looking for it for 2,000 years. The stuff that exists outside awareness or consciousness. We still haven't found it. Consider the possibility that the entire universe exists in awareness, as a movement of awareness. In other words, that anything that appears doesn't just appear to awareness, doesn't just appear in awareness, but is made of the very awareness within which it arises. In other words, consider the possibility that awareness, consciousness, spirit, or love is the ultimate reality of the universe. Now, it's one thing to understand this, or at least be open to the possibility of it. But it's quite another thing to feel the body and perceive the world in a way that is consistent with this understanding. We could say that the ultimate yoga is the practice that we undertake that enables us to not just understand, but feel our own bodies and the world as the activity of a single, infinite and indivisible whole, whose nature is consciousness or spirit or love. So let us embark on this yoga. With your eyes still closed, allow the experience of your body to come to your attention. Not the idea of your body, not the image of your body, not the memory of your body, but just the raw, current, direct experience of your body. If we do not refer to thought or memory, and if our eyes are closed, our only experience of the body is the current sensation. We cannot even be sure that the current sensation is a sensation of a body. Of a body is simply a concept that is later added to the experience by thought. Drop the idea of being a body or having a body. Without reference to the past, we have no such knowledge or experience. All we experience is the current raw sensation. And that sensation is appearing in the vast, open, empty, luminous space of awareness. Ask yourself the question, does the current sensation have a clearly defined border or edge to it? Don't refer to the image or the memory of the body. Just refer to the raw, direct experience of the sensation itself. See if you can find a clearly defined edge to the sensation. If you were to draw the sensation on a piece of paper, what kind of marks would you make? You're trying to draw the sensation in order to represent it to someone who has never had the experience before. Would there be any lines in your drawing? Or would it all be just dots, clusters of dots, with space in between? A bit like the night sky. Some dots more intense than others, but no clearly defined shape, contour, border, no lines in the drawing. Just feel the body as a tingling, amorphous vibration. Ask yourself the question, does this tingling, amorphous sensation have an age? Only refer to the current, direct experience. What age, how old is the current sensation? Don't refer to thoughts and memory. See that without reference to thought or memory, that is, referring only to our current direct experience, the experience of the body is ageless. The idea of eternal youth has been downgraded by our materialist culture to mean a body that looks young. The real meaning of eternal youth has nothing to do with this. It is to experience the body neither as young or old. It is to experience the body as ageless. Just appearing fresh, luminous, now. No shape, no contour, no age. Ask yourself the question, without reference to thought or memory, does the current tingling, amorphous vibration that I once used to call my body have a size? Is it large or small, fat or thin, tall or short? See that without reference to thought or memory, there is no experience of the current sensation having a size. We cannot say it is large or small. In our experience, it has no dimensions at all. That's what the word infinite means, not finite, not measurable. Ask yourself the question, without reference to thought or memory, does the current sensation have a gender? If this were the first experience I had ever had, that is, if I don't refer to the past, would I have any knowledge of being a man or a woman? Is there anything, in other words, is there anything about your current experience that tells you I am a man or I am a woman, unless you refer to the past? Without reference to thought or memory, is there anything about your current experience that even tells you that you are a person? If you were a newborn infant now, without the ability to think or refer to the past, would you know that you were a person? You would know that you are. You would know that I am. But we wouldn't know that we were a person. Ask yourself the question. Do I have any experience of having a weight? Go to the sensation of your legs on the chair or floor that seems to be evidence of weight, without reference to thought or memory, would you know that that sensation is evidence of weight? The sensation certainly has a certain intensity to it. But see that intensity by itself doesn't equate to the experience of weight. A headache is intense, but it doesn't weigh anything. Does the sensation of your body on the chair or floor weigh anything, or is it floating weightlessly in the open, empty, luminous space of awareness? Notice that we are not manipulating the experience of the body in any way. We are just contemplating it. And in our loving but disinterested contemplation, the body gradually and naturally and effortlessly loses the limitations that it acquires from thought and is revealed in our experience as it essentially is. Ask yourself the question, does the tingling, amorphous vibration or sensation have a density to it, a solidity to it? If this were the first experience you had ever had, in other words, if you don't refer to thought or memory, is there any actual experience of density or solidity? Or is the sensation transparent? Empty? Luminous? Made only of sensing? And all there is to sensing is the knowing of it, or the awareness of it. Can you find a border between the sensation and the space of awareness in which it appears? In other words, is the sensation like a fish in the ocean? Or is the sensation more like a current in the ocean, made out of the water in which it appears? Even to refer to the body as a sensation appearing in the space of awareness is a concession to the old belief in a physical body made out of dense, inert stuff called matter. It's just a stepping stone, a partial understanding. All there is to the sensation is the experience of sensing. And all there is to sensing is the knowing of it. All there is to the experience of the body is a movement of the awareness within which it appears and with which it is known. This is the exploration that is referred to in the tantric tradition of Kashmir Shaivism as devouring the body. The body is being devoured by consciousness. In fact, even that is not quite right. It is not being turned into consciousness or awareness. It was already that. But we are now not only understanding it as such, we are feeling it as such. Allow whatever sounds are present to come to your attention. See that they appear in exactly the same space of awareness as do your thoughts and sensations. Drop the label sounds. All there is to a sound is the experience of hearing. And all there is to hearing is the knowing of it, the awareness of it. In reality, there are no nouns. It's all verbs. All the one infinite reality, made of consciousness or spirit or love, modulating itself in all the forms of experience, but never ceasing to be itself. Appearing as many, but always remaining the one. This is the exploration that is referred to in the tantric tradition of Kashmir Shaivism as devouring the world. turning the world into yourself. Not yourself a person, yourself infinite consciousness. Not even turning the world into yourself, recognizing the world, feeling the world as yourself, and feeling yourself as the world. In time, the distinction between everyday life and meditation diminishes and eventually vanishes. The world loses its ability to veil its reality and instead shines with it. The world which once seemed to conceal its reality now reveals it. The Sanskrit word Maya, which some of you will be familiar with, which is traditionally referred to as illusion. It ceases to be a concealing power and becomes a revealing power. So I'll finish this contemplation with a poem by Rilke, translated by Stephen Mitchell, which gives a hint as to how to extend this exploration out into all our sensory experience, in this case, tasting, eating. It goes like this: plump banana, melon, peach, gooseberry. How all this affluence speaks life and death into the mouth. I sense, observe it from a child's transparent features while he tastes. This comes from far away. What miracle is happening in your mouth? Instead of words, discoveries flow out from the ripe fruit, astonished to be free. Dare to say what apple truly is, this sweetness. At first thick, dark, dense, then exquisitely lifted in your taste, grows clarified, awake, luminous, double-meaninged, sunny, earthy, real. Oh, knowledge, pleasure, inexhaustible. So I'm happy to respond to any questions you may have. Just wait for the mic, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hello.
Hi.
I've been studying you for a few months. I love you to pieces. It's fantastic to
Sorry,
be here.
just I'm not hearing you. Go slower. So start again.
I'm a big fan of yours. I knew I was coming today, and I tried to plan a question, but Francis Lucille says that the only questions, interesting questions, are ones that arise in the moment.
That's usually very true. Yeah. Not always, but yes, usually.
In spite of that, I spent the whole contemplation trying to come up with my question. And then I realized that this urgency to try and find a question is the same urgency that I felt during traumatic incidents in my life. How do I begin to go about addressing this urgency?
Well, I'm sorry that you asked me that question at the end of the contemplation and not the beginning of the contemplation, because the contemplation we've just done was the answer to your question. And if you spent the entire contemplation trying to formulate your question, you missed an opportunity. That would have been one of my answers, not a rational answer, but that contemplation was the experiential answer to your trauma. Because trauma is lodged in the body. It doesn't just exist in your ideas, in your memory. It's lodged in the body. And it hides in the body. That's why it lasts so long. It's laid down early in childhood, but it lasts well into our adult life because it hides in the body. So what we were doing just now was shining the bright light of awareness deeply into our experience of the body. And in doing so, exposing and in time dissolving these hidden layers of trauma. So this morning's contemplation was the answer to your question.
That's all right. I've done them before and I'll keep doing them again. So that's the answer to my question.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, that was also a question. So the way forward is to continue doing your types of contemplation. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for that. You asked the question in the contemplation, has there ever been or could there ever be an experience outside of awareness? Which instantly my answer was no. But then I thought of, I can be aware when I'm dreaming, that I'm dreaming.
Just, I'm not hearing you. Just speak closer to the mic.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got so far, yeah.
But what about sleep?
What about?
Sleep.
Grief.
Sleep.
Sleep. Do you mean dreams or deep
No,
sleep?
Deep sleep. You can be like, I can be aware when I'm dreaming, but I don't think I'm aware of deep sleep.
You believe that, keep the mic, you believe that deep sleep is the absence of awareness. Consider the possibility that it is the awareness of absence.
Yes.
After all, if awareness were not present by deep sleep, if awareness were not present in deep sleep, how would it be possible to be awoken by an alarm clock? What would hear the alarm clock when you're deeply asleep if awareness were not present?
I suppose in my experience, I don't get to that point. I have an I come to an awareness first, before waking.
I would suggest that awareness is eternal. It's always present. It's like the sun, it never goes out. In deep sleep, you don't lose awareness. You lose experience. You lose your thoughts. So, first of all, when you fall asleep, you lose your perceptions. That's the way we experience the world. And we lose our sensations. It's the way we experience the body. So, to begin with, we lose our experience of the world and the body. That leaves us in what we call the dream state. But the awareness that was aware of the waking state remains and is now aware of our dreams, which consist of thoughts and images. Then, in time, thoughts and images disappear, leaving awareness all alone. That's why we all look forward to going to sleep at night, because experience leaves us all alone. And when experience leaves us alone, we're in peace.
So with the question that you asked in the contemplation, though, is there ever an experience outside of your awareness? You're not experiencing when you're asleep, you're just awareness.
Just aware, yes.
Thank you.
But not aware of any experience. Awareness
Yeah.
in the absence of experience, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Just here, okay. We'll come back to you in a minute.
Hi there, Rupert.
Hi.
Question, do wholesome desires only come from existence consciousness, or are they also manifested in sensations, material world?
Wholesome desires.
Yes.
Okay, there are two types of desire. One you could call wholesome desires, and a second category of desires that come from the sense of separation. Let's call them unwholesome desires. So all of our desires come from one of these two. Ultimately, of course, all desires come from awareness. It's the only place anything can come from. But some desires are filtered through the sense of separation, and some desires just come direct. So what you call the wholesome desires are the desires that are not filtered through the sense of separation. What we could call unwholesome desires are desires that come from a sense of separation, a sense of lack. And the purpose of the desire for the object, the substance, the activity, and the relationship is not really for the object or the relationship in its own right. The purpose of seeking the object is only to put an end to the sense of lack that is inherent in the separate self. So with this understanding, desires don't necessarily come to an end. It's only one category of desire that comes to an end, the desire whose purpose is to fulfill a separate self, which, when investigated, is found to be an illusion. Those desires subside, but there are still what you call wholesome desires. What would a wholesome desire be? A desire, for instance, that came from love. You feel love. Love is the felt sense of our shared being, and you want to express that love, celebrate that love with another person. In that case, the desire for relationship is not coming from a sense of lack, it's coming from a sense of fullness, and that fullness wants to share itself. You could also feel the loneliness that is inherent in the sense of separation, and from that place you could also desire a relationship. And although the object that you're desiring, a person in this case, would be the same, the motive would be very different. And if we seek a relationship for the purpose of putting an end to the sense of lack, then sooner or later the person that we enter the relationship with will fail to put an end to our sense of lack, because that's not something somebody else can do for us, and hence the disappointments and the conflicts will begin. Yes, you're good.
Hello.
Hello.
Lovely to be here. Thank you for sharing. I was thinking during the contemplation, you described soon that there's a space perhaps where meditation, that experience of meditation, is inseparable from being awake, if you like. My question is, how do I throughout my regular day, when I'm at work, I have a family, I have to take separate time out to practice or meditate, and to observe awareness. And so my question is, how can I train up so that it becomes a more natural, permanent state without having to take time out from my regular day? Thank you.
Well, you're doing exactly the right thing, taking time out, which is really the traditional approach of pausing, putting a pause in the stream of experience. By the stream of experience, I mean thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, perceptions, actions, relationships, and so on. You put a pause in the stream, you turn away from the content of experience, and you go back to yourself, not yourself, the body, yourself, the presence of awareness. And then your attention is again required by the world, so your attention goes back out to your work, your family, whatever it is. So there is this back and forth to begin with, which is what you're describing. So, start in this way. Put numerous pauses, numerous gaps in between your activities. If you've got time at the beginning and the end of the day, give yourself a time, 20 minutes at the beginning and the end of the day, where you can close your eyes and just give your attention, just be aware of being. But then at numerous times through the day, in between your various activities, do the same thing. Not for 20 minutes, you won't have time. For 2 minutes. And if you don't have 2 minutes, for 10 seconds. Each time you put a pause in the flow of your experience, you are weakening the power that your experience has to take you away from yourself, to veil yourself. And in time, you begin to feel that in between the pauses, the awareness that you accessed during the pauses remains in the background.
So it naturally becomes more permanent?
Yes, it's like for one who is lost in the drama of the movie, to begin with they have to turn the movie off in order to see the screen. So you're binge watching a series, several episodes. In between each episode, you turn the TV off briefly and you see the screen. To begin with, you just see the screen in between the episodes. After a while, when you've seen the screen often enough, it occurs to you in the middle of an episode, I'm still seeing the screen. I don't need to turn the movie off. Well, it's exactly the same. To begin with, we make these pauses in between our thoughts, feelings, and so on. And then there is this recognition, the presence of awareness doesn't just exist in the gaps between my experiences. It shines in the midst of all experience. And then there's no need to go back and forth. Even when you're giving your attention to the content of your experience, your family, your work, and so on, still, the presence of awareness, you don't lose touch with it. It remains present, and not just present. It shines in the midst of the experience, not just in the background of the experience. So it just comes more and more.
Thank you. It sounds as well as if initially quite some discipline or commitment is required to, because I used to practice taking lots of short moments, but then I found that, like I said, like with life overflowing, I found it that much harder to commit to stopping and pausing and taking that short moments and recognising awareness. So my question is, I suppose, once it builds up that momentum, does it become a lot easier to maintain, or is it just... Or is it dependent on...
It's not really something that you need to maintain with effort and practice and commitment and discipline. You have a family. You have children.
Yes.
Do you have to make an effort to think of your children? No, of course not. You just do so naturally. Sometimes you don't think of them when your attention is required by the world, but you don't forget them for long. Soon as there's a gap, you go straight back to your love for your children. You don't do that through commitment. You're not committed to remembering your children. You love to remember your children. It's the same.
I get that, thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, just in the front here.
Hi, Rupert.
Hi.
Can I ask a question about definition? Sort of engaging with an attempt at definition kind of facilitates a duality because you are it. How would something such as perfection as a concept work within that? Do you think there's a value to it, or is it temporary, or I'm interested to know.
Perfection. I would suggest that the reason that we strive for perfection, or to the extent that we strive for perfection, we do so because of this innate knowledge that everyone has that the whole, the one, reality is perfect. Because in the one reality, or from the point of view of the one reality, that there is nothing but itself. How could there be any imperfection in it? And this knowledge, I don't mean intellectual knowledge, obviously, this recognition is present in everybody's mind. Why? Because it is the nature of everybody's mind, however clouded by the sense of separation our minds may be. Nevertheless, this memory of our eternity remains in us. And it is this memory, it's not a memory of something in time, it is the memory of something deep in us. And it is this memory that causes us to strive, to seek for happiness, or for love, or for perfection. All what we're really striving for is to return to our original nature. We're, as soon as the one has been fragmented into the many, each of those many selves only want to do one thing: to be divested of their sense of separation and to be returned to the one. Or whatever we seek, if we're an artist who seeks beauty, if we're a scientist that seeks understanding, if we seek perfection, if we seek happiness, what we are really seeking is to be divested of the sense of separation and to be revealed as what we essentially are, the one infinite reality. And so our desire for perfection is just a reflection of the innate perfection of reality in each of our finite minds.
Thank you.
Yes, just behind the camera then.
Do you want to speak? Please.
Thank you. I was just wondering, what is your understanding of time?
I would suggest that time is eternity refracted through the finite mind.
Okay, thank you.
In other words, there is In the ultimate, from the ultimate point of view, there is no such thing as time. Time is just what the eternal now looks like when we look at it through our finite minds.
I'm here.
Yes,
Hello.
hi.
I would love to hear your perspective on what
Come
is
closer. Yeah.
what is the perfection in the illusion, as in, so the whole thing, whole self is perfection, as nothing else could be but itself. So the illusion being the self as well.
The illusion would be?
The illusion is also the self in this case, of course.
Absolutely, yes.
So what is the perfection there? That as in, how can I see it as perfect instead of fighting it?
Okay, you're quite right. The illusion, the so-called illusion of the world, is nothing but the appearance of the perfection of reality. Remember, illusion, and this is something that is not always clearly explained in the traditional Advaita or non-dual text, the Vedantic tradition. Maya is translated as illusion, and very often we equate something that is an illusion with something that is not real. And I used to struggle with this for many years. I was brought up in a classical school of Advaita Vedanta, and I was always being told that the world was an illusion in the sense that it's not real. And I always rebelled at this idea. And I thought, no, my experience of the world is very real. I couldn't just dismiss the world as being unreal. And it took me many years to realize that it's a mistake to conflate the idea of illusion with something that is not real. Illusion simply means that something is real, but it's not what it appears to be. So the world is only an illusion in the sense that it's not what it appears to be. When it is said that the world is an illusion, it does not mean that the world is not real. The world is absolutely real. Is there anyone here who honestly thinks that the world is not real? Obviously not. However, it is clear to us that we perceive the world through our sense perceptions. That is, through the faculties of seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling. And surprise, surprise, the world appears to us as sights, sounds, tastes, textures, and smells. Is that a coincidence? Of course not. Our perceiving faculties make reality appear in a way that is consistent with their own limitations. Or if you look at white snow through orange-tinted glasses, it will appear orange. The snow appears in a way that is consistent with the medium through which we look, the orange glasses. If we forget that we are wearing orange glasses, we'll think the snow is orange. We'll think that the orange color is a property of the snow. No, it's a property of the medium through which we look. So likewise, our sense perceptions, seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling, are like the orange glasses. But in our culture, we tend to think that our sense perceptions are like a clear window through which we look, and we see reality as it is. No, of course we don't see reality as it is. We see reality as it appears when we look at it through our orange-tinted glasses. Our orange-tinted glasses are made out of seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling. Of course, the world appears as reality appears as sights, sounds, tastes, textures, and smells. It is the perceiving faculties of a human mind that confer those limitations on reality, remove the limitations that each of our minds superimpose on reality What's left? God's infinite being, consciousness, spirit, love. Remember William Blake. He said, every bird that cuts the airy way is an immense world of delight enclosed by the five senses. Every bird that flies in the sky, and by extension every object, what it is really is an immense world of delight, pure consciousness, pure joy, enclosed in or filtered through sense perception, which makes this world of delight, this infinite reality, appear to be temporary and finite. Even time and space are not inherent in reality themselves. They are what eternal infinite reality looks like when it is filtered through our perceiving and conceiving faculties.
What is the purpose of the self that wants to do that or creates that?
What's the purpose of the self? There's no purpose ultimately to manifestation. It is the nature of reality to manifest itself. It does not do so for a reason. It does so because it is its nature to do so. It is its nature to localize itself in the form of each of our minds, from whose perspective it views its own activity as the universe. It is just its nature to do so, just as it is the nature of your mind to dream a world within itself when you fall asleep. But in order to perceive the dreamed world, you have to localize yourself in the dreamed world and view that world from the position of the localized point of view that you seem to become in your dream. When you wake up in the morning, you realize the entire dreamed world was just the activity of my own mind. But during the dream, from the perspective of the person that you seemed to become in the dream, you don't think, oh, the world that I see is the activity of mind. You think it's made out of matter. You think my mind exists within my body, and the world exists outside of my mind, outside of consciousness, made of matter. And then, of course, you wake up in the morning and you realize, no, the whole thing was the activity of my own mind. Well, imagine that consciousness is, as it were, dreaming the universe into existence. And each of us are localized points of view within consciousness, made of consciousness, from whose point of view consciousness views its own activity as the universe. In other words, in the ultimate analysis, there is no such stuff called matter. There is nothing that exists outside consciousness. What matter is just the way the activity of consciousness appears from our localized and limited perspectives. Why does consciousness do this? It is just its nature to do so.
Because it's perfect. Sorry. Because it's perfect.
What?
Because it's perfect. Right.
Yes, its desire to do so doesn't come from some sense of lack, some needing to perfect itself. It is more like an overflow. The universe is more like an overflowing of its own perfection within itself. As the Sufi Hafiz said, a movement of love for the sake of beauty. That's as close as you can get to a reason why consciousness creates the universe. Yes, at the back.
Thank you. Hello. Hi, Rupert.
Hello.
I had a question about some of the terminology that I've been hearing. So, for example, consciousness, awareness, God's infinite being. Now, in the end game, are these all different words for one and the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. And in all of this, what is the role and definition of God, if there is a role at all?
Ultimately, reality cannot legitimately be named or defined, because it is that in terms of which everything else is named or defined. So, if we wanted to be absolutely strict and honest, we should remain silent. We should sit here for 2 hours in silence. Not a single word that I have said is absolutely true. So we could simply remain silent, and indeed some do. But others are willing to agree that no words we use are absolutely true, but nevertheless, you see, the point of our words is not to be true. The point of the words of the teaching are to be effective, evocative. Whether they're true or not, ultimately no words are true. So the question is not, are these words, are these definitions true? The answer is no, they're not. The question is, are they effective? Do they take us to the experience, the unnameable, undescribable experience of reality? That's all that matters. So whether we use the words God, consciousness, spirit, reality, self, I, it doesn't matter. All these words have a certain explanatory power. All these words have a limitation. For many people, for instance, due to their upbringing, the word God just provokes so much resistance that even when they try to override that resistance by understanding the context in which it is said, the resistance is too strong. I happen to love the word God. It takes me directly to God's presence in myself, as myself, but I understand that for others it doesn't. Those of us brought up in the Vedantic tradition tend to like the word self. Self with a capital S refers to that which is, that which we are, whereas those of you brought up in the Buddhist tradition probably don't like the word self because it refers to the separate self, which of course is an illusion. So that's why I use lots of different words. I hope that at least one of them will appeal to all of you. But you're absolutely right. None of these words are accurate. I just trust your understanding, and this is a mature group of spiritual seekers, so I don't have to explain. I used the word God a few times today. I didn't think it was necessary to explain what I meant. I'm sure you all understood the context in which it is said.
Thank you for that answer, Rupert. And just a follow-on question, if I may. Say I go through all of this and I figure out that I am the limitless awareness, right? And then, like the person dies, right? So, does it all end there, or like what happens after this realization?
Two things happen after this realization, and they relate to my two initial statements that I made today and yesterday, the statement in which I distilled the essence of the great tradition, peace and happiness are the nature of our being, and we share our being with everyone and everything. So what happens when this becomes clear? Having found the wellspring of happiness within ourselves, we no longer seek happiness in objects, substances, activities, and relationships. Doesn't mean to say that we no longer seek objects, activities, and relationships, but we no longer do so as a means of securing happiness or putting an end to the sense of lack. We do so, on the contrary, as a means of sharing and celebrating and communicating happiness. That's the first thing that happens. And the second thing that happens, we feel, don't just understand, but we feel that we share our being with all people, all animals, and all things. So the sense of separation between ourselves and others diminishes and eventually disappears. And as a result, love becomes the natural condition of all relationship. Those are the two consequences of this understanding. The first, in relation to our interior life, we find the wellspring of happiness within ourselves. And the second, in relation to our activities and relationships in the world.
Thank you, Rupert.
Well, it's been very sweet being with you all again. Thank you.